Hey everyone, welcome to History 410, History of Diet and Health. I'm Fred Gibbs, Associate Professor of History in the History Department, and I will be your guide for the next month or so. Just to introduce myself a little bit, my main research is in, drumroll, history of diet, health, and food. I also do a lot of digital humanities type things, which is trying to merge technology with humanities questions and history in particular. Think digital historic reconstructions and modeling and that kind of stuff, and creating digital interfaces to archives. Totally relevant to this class, but I think it's super fun. Current research relevant to this class is on the history of natural diets, which I'm doing right now. And the diets are really interesting, as you might imagine. We'll see some as we go through this course. But what's even more fascinating, I think, is the way people have talked about what is a natural diet, the way they kind of argue for their version of what constitutes natural, what they think a natural diet is, and the kinds of ways they make the argument. And those, of course, change over time. And it tells us a lot about not only what they thought about natural diets, but it tells us a lot about what we think about natural diets, because we have lots of people too telling us what a natural diet is and what we should eat to be healthy and so on. And so I think studying the history of that gives us a lot of insight into how we should parse those kinds of claims that we see all the time. So you won't be surprised to hear, I think this is a super fun class. The title, History of Diet and Health, is sort of accurate. We do that, of course, because it's a history class. But a more accurate title, I think, would be Diet, Health, and Expertise. Because the idea of expertise, as I was just talking about with History of Natural Diets, I think is super important for understanding the history of diet and health. Because you can't really understand what people are saying about what to eat or how to be healthy without also understanding why they're saying it that way. The kind of evidence they use, the way they make arguments, the way they position themselves against other people making other claims about diet. So, how do we decide we know something or understand something as complex as the relationship between diet and health? Like, it's really hard to study. We'll get into this towards the end of the class. How do we translate really sort of invisible biochemical research into practical everyday advice about diet and health? How do you convince somebody you know how to do that? How do you establish your own expertise? What makes you believe someone who says they are an expert or they have a diet you should follow or they know how you should be healthy? Right? How do people become recognized as an expert? So these are the kinds of questions that we're kind of asking throughout history as we look at the history of diet and health. And it tells us something about the past. Obviously, it's a history class, so not surprising. But more importantly, it tells us more about us, right? And so while I hope you learned something about the history of diet and health, because that's the class, it's a means to an end, right? The history is actually not the most important thing. The most important thing, the end, is to use the history of diet and health and expertise to help us understand contemporary diet and health and ideas about expertise. So the value of history, I think in general, but certainly in this case, is that it provides perspective. So like when you're flying in an airplane, you see the ground in a way you don't see when you're on the ground, right? You see different areas, different ecosystems, different terrain, how it relates to each other. You have different questions. You have a different understanding compared to when you're on the ground and you're seeing things right in front of you, right? It's a different experience. And that kind of perspective is one that we can kind of reflect back on our own society and see things in a way that are not apparent just from looking around and seeing how we talk about diet now. But when you put it in a broad historical context, then you get to see things in a different way. You've probably seen the course Canvas site by now. I'm guessing it's how you got to this video. You've probably also noticed that the syllabus for this course is not embedded into Canvas. You saw that there was a link to it, takes you to my own website where I have all my syllabi because it's just way easier and I think clearer to have it there. If you don't agree with that, let me know, but that's the way it's going to be. All work that you turn in for the class, all the assignments, that's all on Canvas, just like normal. Okay, just like a normal online class. Everything is graded there. You can always go there. We have a discussion board we use from time to time. We don't use it a ton in this class. But in terms of work assignments, that's all on Canvas like normal. But the syllabus, where you get information, what the assignments are, the schedule, calendar, that kind of stuff, that's all on the separate website that you've already seen. So I want to go there for a second, and I'm not going to read the syllabus to you, but let me bring it up here. Okay, I'm in the corner. Good. So here we see history of diet and health. That's us. Course description, you've already seen this. Student learning outcomes. I want to highlight this uh, just very briefly because I think these are super important. And I know they're kind of syllabus boilerplate, and you probably ignore them. But everything we do in this class is based on these things. This is what I want you to be able to do at the end of the class. Okay. Describe, most importantly, describe how ideas of health have been historically constructed, both culturally and scientifically. Okay. So what does that mean? There's no objective knowledge about the world that's kind of waiting to be discovered, right? We create it. We decide how to do that. We decide what kinds of methods we value. We decide what kind of arguments we value. We decide what constitutes healthy, right? There's no objective definition, right? We decide. It's very subjective, and we can agree and disagree, and it obviously changes over time, but we as a culture, as society, we create that. And so when we understand health in that context, it gives us a way of understanding what we can learn about ourselves through looking at the history of diet and health. Okay, so that's the most important thing. Second, identify continuities and ruptures in how expertise and rhetoric of health has changed over time. How do people talk about diet and health? How has that changed? What does that tell us about how we should understand diet and health? We'll get into all of these throughout the class, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but these are the guiding principles, right? Number three, critically evaluate modern dietary advice in broad historical context, right? That's the end, right? The history is a means to an end. So I hope you learned something about history of diet and health. You'll get lots of tidbits you can share with your friends and family, but really the goal is at the end that you're able to really understand the ideas of diet and health and how people create expertise, not only about diet and health, but about anything. Second section, you're welcome here. If you've never taken history, never taken a humanities class, doesn't matter. I don't assume you know anything. We go from the ground up. And I'm here to help you as much as you want help. Okay. I'm here to help you get whatever grade you want, learn as much as you want. If you're just trying to skate through and get a C and get the credit and move on, great. I'm here to help you. If you want to get an A plus and learn everything there is, I'm here to help you. Okay. Let me know what I can do. Getting started, you've probably already gone through most of this already. The syllabus is 2 pages, this page and the schedule page, which we'll look at in a second, that has all the calendar stuff for what we need to do every day. Course videos like this one, you've already seen. They're on YouTube. I don't send out emails, notifications about videos. If you want those, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll get notifications when there's a new thing there. I put links to everything you need to watch on the syllabus on the day you're supposed to watch it, and they obviously stay there. So you can go back and watch it if you need to. Required texts. There's no required textbooks for this class, no required readers. There's nothing you have to buy. Okay. Literally everything is prepared for you. It's just a bunch of PDFs, and there's some online things too, but the PDFs are the main thing. So literally everything you need for the course is either already online or there's a PDF waiting for you. You never need to find anything on your own. Everything is already set up for you, but we use a tool called Zotero. Some of you have used this before. And it's a great tool for research, managing sources and that kind of stuff, taking notes. It's really great. We use it to distribute readings. And in order to get access to the readings, you have to join our group library. The instructions to do that are here. If you click this link, the Getting Started Guide, it tells you exactly what to do. I'm not going to go through it because it takes longer to say it than it does to do it. All right, this blue box here has links that you'll want to use. I suggest bookmarking them once you get everything set up. When you click on this link, just to show you very briefly what it looks like so you know you're in the right spot, you log in. I've got my username and password saved like you will. You will see the Diet Health Expertise Library. All of the readings, this is in, I don't know what kind of order. Let's do it in alphabetical order by author. You'll see all the readings for the course are here. This has more stuff in it than we use, okay? There's things here for extra credit assignments. There's here from past classes that we don't use, so don't freak out if you're like, we're reading all of this. No, you're not. So everything we need is in here. Everything you need is in here. When you need to read something, one of the first things we read, an introduction chapter, on measured meals. So we see the thing here, you find it, you double click, and it will bring up the PDF in your browser. You can also download it. Just want to say one thing about course workflow. You can read through the details here. The idea is that there's a thing a day, okay? There's something you have to read, maybe a video, but mostly there's a lot of reading. It's a history class, humanities class, upper level. That's just what we do. It's a good skill to have. Most weeks have a short overview video that highlights a few what I call big points that I hope you'll keep in mind as you make your way through the readings. Please mention these in your reading reflections. It shows that you're watching the videos, you're getting the big points, you're understanding the sort of scaffolding that holds things together. Some days have their own short kind of like introductory videos for a particular reading, or maybe a couple of days are kind of grouped together. Also, mention those in your reading reflections. They're very short essays that encourage you to reflect on the readings. There's normally a set of questions that you kind of address. You don't have to answer them one by one. In fact, you shouldn't, but it's to give you an idea of what I'm kind of looking for. So you can kind of riff off those, show me you're trying to understand the reading. Okay. That's the goal of these things, however you answer it. There's not a right answer. I'm not looking for X, Y, and Z, and you get points because you mention it. Okay. That's just not how the humanities should work. Some answers are better informed than others. Okay. You can make more or less effort to do these reading reflections. And so that's what you're getting graded on, right? Are you making a legitimate effort? That's all I'm looking for. Okay. There's quizzes. I try to make them really hard if you're just bluffing your way through it, and really easy if you've actually done the reading. So you'll figure out what works for you. Familiarity over mastery. You see there's a blue box. Blue boxes on the syllabus mean important information point. You're not going to learn every detail in every reading. There's way too much. It's all new. I don't learn anything until I read something 3 or 4 times. So I don't expect you to master anything that we're looking at in this class, okay? But you should be familiar with it. You should understand what the author is trying to do. You should understand the evidence they're using, how they're making an argument, okay? You should understand how it fits in the course, and you should put this in your reading reflections. That's how I know you're making the effort. Assignments due at midnight. You have 2 days to turn in an assignment. You lose a little bit of points each day that it's late because, there has to be some kind of accountability. But you have 2 days to turn it in, and then you can't turn it in anymore. And the reason is, in the past, I've been like, turn it in whenever you want. And then people, well-meaning students, say, oh, I'll do it later when I have more time, I'll do it better. And then they don't do it. And then they get behind, and then the class moves so fast, it's really hard to go back and do previous work. So people got into trouble, and it was kind of my fault. So now I just have the rule: you get 2 days. You lose a little bit, to reward the people who are doing it on time. All right. So you don't have 2 grace period days. There's a penalty, but you get 2 days to turn it in, and then we just need to move on. Assignments and grading. These are all assignment guides. I'll talk more about those when they're relevant. Grade distribution. It looks like a normal scale here, but I want to make sure you see that it's a little bit easier than normal. Okay, so an A minus normally is like 90 to 92% or something like that. Here it's 88, 89% is an A minus, 90 to 94 is a full A, 95 and up is an A plus. Okay, everybody should be able to get a good grade in this class. And the reason I lower the grade scale like this, life is too short to nitpick points on quizzes or reading reflections or whatever. Like, just don't waste your time. Don't waste my time. Don't waste our grader's time. She's amazing. She has things to do. So please do not nitpick the points. Just don't do it. I've already given them to you right here. Okay, you've already gotten a bunch of points just for existing. Extra credit is extra. Okay, you have to do all the work in order to do extra credit if you want to. It's not replacement credit, it's extra. Okay, so make sure you're doing all the work. You can always do more later to raise your grade. Okay, I'm very open to any kind of assignment related to critiquing diet and health. Okay, there's a default documentary critique. Watch a documentary about diet and health. There's a million of them, and then critique it using the course material. So it's pretty straightforward. AI policy. Hey, we have to do it these days. AI is awesome. I literally use it every day. I love it. I think it's amazing. You should learn how to use it too. If I were an employer, I would not hire someone who couldn't use AI effectively. But you have to learn to use it effectively, and it's not obvious how to do that. So there's really 2 rules we have in this class. One, you have to use it in accordance with the academic integrity policy. You cannot ask ChatGPT or whatever tool to do the question I ask you and then copy and paste it, change a couple words, and submit it. That's not your own work. That's lying, cheating. Don't be a horrible person. Don't do that. Okay. So I know you're all nice people. You won't do that. But also, everything you do in this class is really about this class. And when you go to AI and you ask it a general question about diet and health, the history of diet and health, or things we're reading, you get really general answers. And the answers may be actually pretty good, but they're not specific to this class. And that's what I'm asking you to do. Use this class material, okay? The stuff that we're reading, that we're talking about, that we're trying to link together, and show me you're doing that. So when you just use AI without kind of basing it in the course material, you're not going to end up doing very good responses. Okay, so be careful. All right, don't cheat, but when you use it, be aware of its limitations in this context. It's not going to be able to understand all the course material and how it links together. That's your job. But please do use AI to help polish your writing, to ask it questions about general history of diet and health and see if it sparks an idea or reminds you of something you read that you forgot to add in. Great, use it however you want, but don't use it to do your work for you, okay? And be aware of what it's not going to do, which is link the course readings together. And I expect to see that in your work, okay? The other stuff is pretty boilerplate here. You can read that on your own. Let's go to the schedule page just for a second. General outline for how the syllabus is outlined. If you scroll through it, you see that it's really consistently formatted, and that's exactly the point. Every day has a big orange headline here. There's some text. There's a bullet point list of things you need to read. Links to videos will be here. So introductory stuff to do. This is in a red box. Red boxes mean something you have to turn in. There's one every day, okay? There's always something. Might be a quiz, as you see here. Might be a reading reflection. There's a couple of flavors of reading reflection, so it's not exactly the same thing every time. But the idea is kind of similar as we've already discussed. Show me you're putting in some work to understand what we're doing. This week, you need to take the syllabus quiz. Don't miss out on free points. Actually watch this video or read the syllabus. Also, just as a way of kind of introducing ourselves, it's not a huge class, so we can actually have a little bit of discussion, but I don't like discussion boards that much. So, but please, just as a way of getting to know each other a little bit and introducing ourselves, post a brief introduction to who you are and some opinion about diet and health you changed your mind about. Okay, we all have plenty of stories. You don't need to put a lot of time into these, but it's a nice way of kind of getting to know each other just a little bit. Okay, so that's the first week assignment, or first day assignment, sorry. But you can see the syllabus is meant to be very straightforward, very consistent from day to day. That's all there is to know about that. Okay, I'm full size again. Remember, get connected to Zotero right away. You do have to wait for me to approve you, right? Just to be clear, so there is a little delay. Don't forget about the syllabus quiz. Make sure you read my little bloggy post thing on defining healthy and how that relates to the class. There's a couple questions on the syllabus quiz about that reading, so do it ahead of time. Don't forget your brief introductory post on the discussion board. Okay, that's it. Welcome again. I look forward to your introductions. I look forward to helping guide the class for the next month or so and see what we can learn about diet, health, and expertise. Okay, see you on the next one.